What's up guys, Max here, finally with a chance to talk about that reaction video to Final Fantasy VII and kind of everything around the game and myself, and why FF7 videos will be making an appearance on this channel next to fighting game videos. They're kind of like totally separate things, but in all honesty, I can't help but say that Final Fantasy VII is still my favorite game of all time. Now, what I really want to talk about is the gigantic impact that this reveal has had on the internet for Square Enix. I don't know if you guys I've realized, but their stock went flying, like through the roof. Nintendo's not doing so hot right now, but Square Enix has made a dramatic turn for the better over the past 6 months. There's been a lot of discussions from the developers, from Nomura, saying how he had to split his time between different games, and why essentially Final Fantasy VII is happening now, which is an interesting topic of conversation. Essentially, the scenario writer and director and the guys that did initial concepts for Final Fantasy VII, the original dudes, there aren't many of them yet, and the few that are remaining at Squaresoft, or I'm sorry, Square Enix it would be now, are going to be taking part in the FF7 remake. And this is a good thing because they literally said, if it's gonna get done, we're gonna have to do it now or never. And there was another really good reason they want to do so, and it's that console sales are tanking in Japan right now. The Japanese game market is getting a huge boost in mobile gaming at the moment, some of which was really big in other countries. It's kind of late for Japan right now, and Japan's getting it really good, making console game sales very poor. The PS4 is doing very good in regards to all other countries, but they feel that this game, similar to what happened with Final Fantasy VII on the original PlayStation 1 back in 1997, could do something to kind of ignite the spark for console game sales once again, just like in the past. And that's probably a really good bet, because within the span of a week of this game's announcement, actually less than a week at this point, there has been an insane amount of views for Square Enix's YouTube video. The initial Final Fantasy VII reveal trailer for the remake is probably around 9 million views at the moment. And that might not seem like a ton compared to some very big gaming channels and stuff like that, but for a Final Fantasy game, that's a lot, man. That's a lot than you've seen on any other kind of like big name Final Fantasy title in quite some time. The interest for this game is through the roof, and it's not only the fact that it's one of the Destiny games, it's like up there with Half-Life 3, as being a title that just can never exist. For some reason or not, it is so hard to make this game actually become a reality, and lo and behold, it came true. And that dream coming true wasn't just for somebody like myself, who I grew up disliking RPGs wholeheartedly. I really didn't like them. I liked Street Fighter, I liked stuff that was cool, I liked Aliens and Predators when I was below the age of 10. But until I got to the point of being a teenager, my friend showed me Final Fantasy VII. I was initially unimpressed, and as I was sitting having a sleepover and just hanging out with him and watching this game being played in front of my eyes, I realized how much I cared what was going to happen next in the story. And this was the first time a story actually critically affected me in any video game at all. I didn't think games needed story. I liked them just being arcade kind of experiences, and I still do appreciate that to a heavy extent. But this was the first one to kind of open my eyes, and it was like, wow, this is a lot different than the stuff I'm used to playing. And I went out, I found a way to get a copy of Final Fantasy VII, a used PlayStation, and I played through the entire game myself. And it was, and still is to this day, my favorite RPG and my favorite game of all time. I went on to the PlayStation and I played a ton of RPGs on that system, and I kind of came in around pretty much the golden age of RPGs was around the PlayStation era, between 3D and 2D RPGs on that system. Man, there are so many to choose from on the PSX between all those amazing Japanese RPGs that it is absolutely incredible. Final Fantasy Tactics, or at this point it'd be War of the Lions, is also a close second. I really love that game, and I love its characters, and I love playing it. I think that's a big part about FF7, is just playing the game itself is really enjoyable. And because I'm so attached to it, because it is that first RPG, you can tell that a lot of other people, like a lot of other folks that might have jumped into these kind of genres right around that time frame, are in the same boat as me, where this was their first RPG. And usually when I talk to people and I'm like, what's your favorite game? And I get opinions and stuff like that, there's a good chance that their favorite game is most likely their first RPG, which is why Final Fantasy VI is so highly regarded. That was a huge game on the Super Nintendo. FF6 was a big deal. It had really good graphics, and it was doing stuff that no other RPGs were doing at the time. And the same thing goes for Chrono Trigger. A lot of folks really love Chrono Trigger. Now, the most wonderful thing about this is that you have this perspective of all these people that really like Final Fantasy VII, most likely because it was their first RPG, and it was the first world that they explored, and the first time they really got engrossed in something like that. And I've played FF7 about 6 times, and I've heard people say they played it like 20 times or something like that. And I can't find myself ever playing FF7 without doing almost absolutely everything. You gotta get like 5 or 6 gold chocobos, you gotta do every single thing, you gotta turn a bunch of cactuar into ribbons, you gotta go down to the submarine, turn all those creepy, underwater monsters into source materials and stuff like that. You do freaking everything. And then, of course, you go whack Sephiroth a few times on the head with 4 times cut, and that dude is gonna be dead very fast. I am very much looking forward to this game. I don't want them to sacrifice a lot of stuff either. I think a lot of what makes Final Fantasy VII great is the variety, the weird snowboarding, the basketball games, using a submarine, doing all this crazy kooky stuff in this game. That variety is important to FF7, and I think it needs to be preserved. Now, there's so many discussions about the developers and what the developers want to change with the story and how they're going to adjust certain things, and I think that's a topic entirely for another video, is going to be how is Final Fantasy VII going to change from what we remember to what is going to eventually be released. And my hope is not much, but there has been some details from developers in regards to what we might anticipate could be the future of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and how close it is to the original title. The other big piece of great news is that, based on this reaction, it seems it's affected the industry quite a bit, especially with the Shenmue announcement. Old games coming back is all the rage right now. And the success of the FF7 remake could provoke Square Enix to revisit some of their older titles. Could you imagine if the next game revisited after FF7 was something like Chrono Trigger? I honestly feel the world would explode just as big as this game if Chrono Trigger was properly remade. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That's pretty much my thoughts on Final Fantasy VII right now and why I think everyone is so attached to it. Like I said, as more details come up, I'm going to do a future video talking about the differences we're going to be anticipating between our version of Final Fantasy VII that we remember and the one that is going to be a reality in the next few years. As always, dudes, thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back to making more Final Fantasy VII news and videos as soon as I possibly can. Take care, folks, and I'll see you next time.